Well, hello, and welcome back. Give me just a second here. I'll turn off the AC. There we go. So, in the last part, we basically did a lot of boilerplate, but we did get some cookies set up. So let me go back into the file here, and I think I'll try to make this a little bit bigger. Let's see if we can do that. Let's see. What do we do? What do we do here? I could probably make myself a little bit smaller even still. Let me take a second just to adjust this here. Yeah, there we go. Let's see if I can just move myself out of the way a little bit. Oh, that didn't do what I thought it would do. There we are. That's doing what I was thinking it would do. Cool. So I'm going to open this up. Give us a little bit more space to work in. I'm going to need to update my whatchamajig. Technical term, of course. I've got a little desktop background that lets me know how wide my windows need to be. And I'll see if I can get that updated. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop this. I'm going to just kind of get back started. Stop things so I can start them again. So I'm in my project directory. I've got watch exec-r, meaning restart, -e, meaning follow extensions that are these extensions. So JS, so it's just looking for JS files. If JS file changes, it's going to restart. And then what it's restarting is the command node app.js. So that's where we're at there. If we look at our app.js, very, very simple so far. We've just got our boilerplate for setting everything up here on top. We've got a hello route, and then we've got a couple of routes dealing with cookies, and then we've got an error handler, and then we've got our set up the Express server and listen. Actually, whoops, this was supposed to be here. Good. Glad I caught that. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually first going to, I've got all these tabs open. I tend to keep tabs open forever. And part of the reason for that is that I want to keep my, I don't want to lose track of the information that I'm gaining. But it's a good time to take a pause, especially since we're doing a new part of this. Take a pause and make a little blog article. It doesn't need to be a great one, but just put something together for what I've been learning and what I'm doing so that I can do it again in the future. Actually, there's two things I want to do here. The first of which, before I do that, I'm going to make a little template repository for this Express stuff so that getting that boilerplate set up is a little bit easier. So let me go ahead and how do I tell something I want this to be a template repository? Let's see, Express Starter. That's what I want to call this. Node Express Starter. And this will be public, and this will just be template repo for Express apps. There we go. And I don't actually want to add anything to this because I'm just going to push what I already have, I think. I think that's how I'm gonna do it. So we'll go ahead and create the repository. And let me take what I've got here. Git remote add beyond code. And then I don't want to push what I currently have per se. Oh, interesting. That one's still doing master. I thought I'd set that up to do main. This one's set up to do main. Again, I'm not into the politics of it, but the change is happening, so might as well. Okay, so I want to let me check out master. Oh, whoops. Let me stash those changes. Check out master. And then we've got basically nothing here. Is that right? Meh, meh, meh. So I'll actually do the checkout of whip. And then I'll check out a new branch and we'll call this TPL. And then I will do a get reset of head tilde 1. Again. What? Okay. So, what did I do? I'm going to rebase whip. Get rebase whip. Get stat. What? Dang it. Ah. Let me just get rid of everything here. Star dot star and dot star dot star. Okay. Rebase whip. Okay, now I'm back up to date. So really, I just want to undo one of these. Get reset head tilde 1. That's what I thought it was. Oh, okay. So apparently readme changed. Great. No big deal. So I'm actually not, I'm not interested in having everything that we had here. I just kind of want the most basic boilerplate out of this. So I'm going to get rid of all that. And I'm going to get rid of all this. Just so the next time I go to do this, I've already got some of this stuff set up. And I need to fix that one again. There we are. So I'm going to take this boilerplate and I'm going to save it. And then the README here, pretty much none of this is important. This, let's see, a template repo for Express server apps. Check the different branches for different templates. So what I'll do is I'll set this up so one branch just has the basic hello and then another one has some authentication stuff, or if I find use cases where like I don't want to have a starter that has the whole kitchen sink in it, but I do want to have all of the items, all of the kitchen items, so to speak, but I could just put them in different branches. So I'll have a hello branch and I'll have the main branch can be just here are the different branches or something like that. But then you know, I'm solving this problem for myself, so I've got the boilerplate taken care of, and I'll have to do the boilerplate again. I should have done this years ago. So what are we doing here? This will be git clone, and then let me see what I've got in my paste buffer. Yeah, that'll be it. There we go. That would be the basic setup. I'm going to put a couple of other things in here. So say get Webby, and then you can get Node, and you can get watch exec. Yeah, I'm just going to put this in here. That's good enough for now. So let's add that README and that app.js. And then let's see, do I need everything that's in this package.json? I probably don't need the cookie parser. I probably will need the body parser. I'll just leave that in there. And I'll just leave Morgan in there. I'll update that later. And then, yeah, I probably do want this example env, although it won't need the cookie stuff in there. And let's do port 3000 because that's super generic. And I don't need that test.js. Let me do npm install again. Let's get rid of the package lock. I'll do npm install again. And then I've got a template I can use in the future. Okay. All right, and I'm going to do a git push -u beyond code is what I called that origin. And then I'm actually going to push this into the hello branch, which is going to become the default branch, which is fine. So now if I refresh this, and let me go into settings here. And now, yeah, we'll make this a template repository, and we could put some other stuff in there at some point. But that's good. And I'll go back and add more documentation to that later. That's not really what I wanted to, spend the time on now. I'm working on getting this refresh token endpoint up in place. But, I think that this is one of those things where as you're doing work, save the knowledge that you're gaining or save the little pieces that you can that are going to save you time in the future, because that accumulates over the years and then you end up with lots of good templates and whatnot. And you get better at writing documentation and all that stuff. So, oh, and also I think I've got the comments open on Twitch and YouTube for anybody that's joining in. Okay. Bum, bum, bum. All right, so I don't need that anymore, but what I do want is I want to be able to close out all these tabs that I've got open. And so the best way for me to do that, to eliminate the stress on my brain, is going to be to create an article about what I'm doing here. And the blog that I've got set up for this is very, very, very simple and stupid. That's what it looks like. And I think I've got this set on auto deploy, so we'll see if this works as expected or not. But I think it will. In any case, I'm going to go ahead, even if this doesn't get published on the blog, if I don't have that stuff set up like I think I do, because I did that in another video. But the purpose here is just let's capture this knowledge. So what is this? We are doing let's see, cookies and Node Express, Node.js Express.md. And let's just, if nothing else, create blog articles and just link to the requisite documentation. So what is this about? This one is on the request is where, let's see. Oh, sorry, I didn't finish my sentence. I don't like the term Express. I want to call it like Express.js or something, but I think its official name is Express. But for search engine, I'd like it to be Express.js, but whatever. Express and cookies. So what did we learn? See this for more info. But what is, all right, how about this? Express cookies cheat sheet. There, now I can be super terse. call it that. Whoa. I love cheat sheets. Just small, terse documents. Okay, what was the important things from here? It was how to require it and set up. Oh gosh. This is just so bad. The information is so scattered. This is my problem. Okay, I need to go back to my code. Let me check out my whip branch, and I think I can get stash pop, hopefully. Yeah, good. All right, so we needed to have a cookie parser. Oh, I did var cookie parser. That's what I typically do, but I've started doing let because, you know, I want people to think I'm cool and hip, and I just can't give in to doing const where you're not actually creating a constant, so why would you call it const? That's just redonkulous. Okay, so typically the only option you need is the secret for signing cookies. And I'm going to be more specific about this. This is an HMAC secret. I'm almost positive. It's certainly not a public-private key secret. Well, I guess I shouldn't say, no, it definitely isn't, because it's a shared secret, because it's just a text string. Okay, so how do we use cookie parser when we instantiate it? I like this idea of having cookie defaults. This is good. So that's something I want to bring back. Where was the app.use? App.use. Ah, there we go. And I did that because I wanted to, for security, I don't want cookies to be parsed willy-nilly. I only want them to be parsed on routes where I know that I'm securely handling them so that I don't get, what's it called? XSRF, cross-site request forgery in browsers that don't support same site. So scope cookie parsing only to where it will be used. So I probably would do something like this as well. So there are some things, well, we'll do this later. We'll talk about this later, but there's only two reasons I see to use cookies. One is to do your refresh token, and the other is to do private assets. For example, if you have photos, you're not necessarily going to attach an access token in the URL for every single photo that you might want to put in an image tag. For that, you'd want cookies, and so it would make sense to have something like /API/authn, where you're going to be doing your auth stuff to parse cookies, and /API/assets, where you have things like pictures, profile pictures, and stuff like that. There we go. So, all right, good. Yeah, actually, we do want to have that there. And then what was this? Like decoder. Let's just leave that undefined. That's what it looks like. And if I wanted more information to understand what those options were, where did I have those? Because this was annoying to figure out. Oh, dang it, did I lose it already? No, I think here it is. res.cookie, is that where, no? There were other options somewhere. I had the URL where it showed me what the options are, because I'm going to forget what the options are, and then I'm going to go looking again, so I need to just make note of this. So express cookie module. I'm going to look in my package lock, because it's just too confusing. There's like 3 or 4 different cookie modules that we're dealing with here. Cookie. Okay, it is just called cookie. That is the correct one. So let's do this. Npm cookie. Because these are the options that we're passing. They pass through. And where are the options specified? Right? Nope. Where was it? There was someplace. Dagnabbit. Maybe it was it cookie parser? Oh, I'm so confused. I think it was encode and decode. Encode, decode. There we go. That's it. Decode. All right, now we're cooking with fire. So again, you don't need to do this, like just at least capture those links of where the relevant information is and put those down and just put them in a list if nothing else. I want to actually document this so that I've got an article that I know that I wrote, that I know where it is, that I don't have to think about this again. Other options are passed to the cookie module. See that. There we go. All right, so that's what cookie parser. That's what cookie parser, how cookie parser needs to get set up. Yeah, let's just leave that like that for now. And then also, I think of this as documents that I can then share with other people at work too. As I'm working with other people, then I can say, okay, here's what we did for this. These are the options that were important for us. I've got it in this cheat sheet. Okay, so that is what? What should we call this? Let's say... There we go. So this one is cookie parser, which is also request.signed cookies. That's what that ends up being. And then was it res.cookies was how we set the cookie. Let me go back in here. Res.cookie is how we set a cookie. Get cookies. You get cookies with cookie parser. And let's just get more specific for SEO here. Get cookies and express. How to get cookies. How to read cookies? And get more generic. All right, that was that. And then we have how to set cookies in Express. You set cookies with res.cookie, and then what was it? Key value options. And then what did that look like? So this one, I think we already did everything we needed from this. Was there anything else about cookies over here? Do we have, how about on the left? Bah, sometimes these scrolly doos. Sorry, I'm an angry old man. Rec.cookies. But that's not what we would want. We would want signed cookies, right? So I think do you still need the cookie parser middleware? That's the question that I have. Are these two separate? No, it must be. I think you do have to have the cookie parser middleware. Okay, was it this page? Signed cookie. All right, now how do I link to that? Maybe I look at this on NPM. Maybe I can link to it there. Cookie parser. Okay. It's a lot easier to read on here for some reason. All right, so we got the cookie parser, and then the other one was cookie, right? Because there's so many similar things. There's cookie and cookies and yada, yada, yada. Okay, that I think is right. Rack.sign cookies. Now we need res. That's what I think this one was, right? Here we're looking for res.cookie and res.clear cookie. Oh, and we don't want the Express 5 docs because Express 5 doesn't exist. Res dot. Huh. Interesting. I wonder how you clear a cookie in Express 4.x if it doesn't have a clear cookie. I mean, obviously you just set the expires date to a negative value. to a date in the past, rather. Okay. And let's make sure that the Express 4 documentation does actually have that max age. Yes, it does. Okay. And how are we using this? Set some default options. This is pretty good stuff right here. So we want some setup. Oh, and I also should have put in here, let cookie secret equal process.env dot cookie secret or whatever. And we do need a good example here of how to actually use, because I guess technically this is going to be common to both. So what we're actually doing in this one, for example, if we want to get a cookie, well, let's say we want to get session, whatever that might mean. then we might want, let me just copy over this stuff here. How did we use it? We used it as signed cookies. So I guess we should probably put in there how to oh, I guess technically this could work. I don't know, but that's what we'd just put in a comment here. Don't really use this. Well, no, we shouldn't even put that there if we just don't want people to see something. Let's say like that. I don't know, whatever. Pick a value, any value. Okay, so that's an example how to use it. We actually need to think about how we would set a cookie before we get a cookie. So let's reverse these. And then let's say we got the cookie middleware, and that is cookie parser. All right. Cool, so that's good. So that's how we use the cookie middleware. That's how we set cookies. We set this up. And then how did we do it over here? Res.cookie is what we called. So let's just put that in here. Just make another hypothetical app.post API authn session. And then let's have our little function. And then what was the example they gave her there? I thought that was actually pretty good, just doing the new date like this. That could be good. Oh, interesting. Cookie access token. Oh, I kind of like that. That's a neat little way to go about it. Whoops. Yeah, let's do some let the cookie ops. And sure. And I'm going to make this a little bit more clear by, let's say, we're going to multiply that by 1,000. And then we can do this 60 times 60 that's a little bit easier to read. Actually, maybe I should just do it like this then. Sure. Oh, good afternoon. Yeah, we'll check out the res.cookie thing. Give me just a second here. So this will be 2 hours. Expires. Actually, I don't need to do that anymore. Let's clean this up a little bit more. We don't need to call it cookie ops. It's clear that it's cookie ops because it's the options we're passing to the cookies. And then let's see if I can get this a little cleaner. And then use cookie defaults as template. Oh, you know what? I actually have this wrong. Somebody should have pointed this out to me earlier. So it would actually be empty object. So I could remove that. That would be appropriate. But it goes in order of overrides. Okay, so now let's take a second here and look at this. So we're saying that we're going to set a cookie with a key. This is the key name. This is the value name. It can be whatever, hence foo key, bar value. And then we give it some options. And we definitely want to make sure that it's signed. We want to make sure that it's scoped to a particular path. And actually, I would argue that this should probably be something like this to prevent mistakes. And then we should also set the path explicitly where we need it to be used. So that's good enough for me because I'll probably want to use it in more than one place. And then a safe default. There we go. All right, so that's how we set the cookie. I'll just put something that authenticates user goes here. All right, so that's how we would use the setting of a cookie. That's how we set up the middleware in the first place. This is how we read cookie values. So I guess foo key is probably not a very good key to use. Let's do like this, because then here we can do, whoops, foo key. Or actually, I like the example of .user better. Okay, I think that that's all the documentation that I want to pull out of this, of the stuff that was complicated for me to figure out. So I'm just going to go over, give this another once over to see. So it's got the parse. We've covered those options. Serialize is not something we're using directly. I should set a domain as well in here. But I'm just going to comment that out. Because I don't remember I don't think you need to set the domain for security. I think it's if you have a subdomain. So say if you're at, example.com and you want to set a cookie for cdn.example.com or something like that. That doesn't even make sense, but I think that's when you use domain. I don't think you need to use it in the general case. So let me go through here again. We set HTTP only. Max age is an alias of expires at. Same site we set to strict. Okay. And I do want to document why do we set it to strict. Prevents XSRF, CSRF in modern browsers. And what do we mean by modern browsers? can I use same site? Same site cookies. Same site cookie attribute. This is what I want. How do I link directly to that? Okay, like that. So it doesn't work in Opera, doesn't work in IE 11, and doesn't work in Safari 14. So it's still not quite universal. So I want to say, I'll document it right here, sure. See that. Signed, make tamper proof with secret. Restrict use of cookie to a certain path name. Set cookie on a subdomain, I think. Do not allow JavaScript to access this cookie. And I should probably stick with uppercase or lowercase here. And then secure only on HTTPS. Disable HTTPS only for localhost. And then session cookie by default. And I do want to find out what the documentation for session cookie is. So session cookie RFC. RFC is when you want the terse technical documentation. The current session is defined as, okay, session cookie, no, session identifiers. Let's see, expires. Maximum lifetime of the cookie. The user agent is not required to retain the cookie until that time. In fact, the user can evict cookies. Wait, oh, these are separate things? Oh, crap. Oh, this is probably one of those browser support issues. Like one of these is usable versus the other. Okay, the max age attribute has precedence. Okay, good to know. So max age is actually preferred. There we go. Oh, and I never set the expires there, but that's okay. Let's go with max age instead. I didn't do the date manipulation. I deleted that part. Okay, do we have anything about a session cookie? I want to put this in there. I'm going to put this at the bottom so that we don't have extra blocks of comments in the middle. Although it's going to get highlighted and everything. Show off your Vim. Yeah, okay, sorry. Well, I'm doing this. I will. I'll go back to the Vim. But when I hit save, it'll have all the syntax highlighting as well. In fact, I'm surprised it doesn't already. It's kind of weird. Doesn't it descend in .md? Let me make sure that I actually put the file extension. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised it's not doing the syntax highlighting in GitHub here. But yeah, give me a second. Let me save this, and then we'll go back to Vim, and we'll have the nice syntax highlighting. Okay, secure attribute, HTTP only. What does? Okay, the current session is over as defined by the user agent. Must remove the cookie. Oh, this looks good. What is this called? Oh gosh, that's storage model. Ugh. Okay, all cookies. If two cookies are the same removal priority, must evict cookies, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to see if there's another instance of session here. Session identifiers. No, that's not what I'm looking for. It's none of that. Okay, I'm just going to skip this. I'm not sure what the documentation means by if you set expires to 0, that it will be. I'm actually going to get rid of that because that's so set expires to 0 instead for a session cookie. Okay, good. I'm going to save this now. And then if I go back and look at it again, now we get the syntax highlighting. But I'll go back to Vim and we'll do the real work. Okay. But in the future, I mean, like, primarily this is just for me. Maybe somebody else finds this. If they do, great. But primarily this is just for me, so I know what I did, and now I have reference of it. And if somebody else says, hey, what are cookies, this, that, and the other, I'll just link them over here. Now, of course, the site is not actually live yet. It's on beyondcode.duckdns.org. Which is not, it's going to become beyondcodebootcamp.com, but I haven't gotten the site off of MailChimp yet. I just need to go and set stuff to do that. And apparently I need to include highlight.js. I'm going to make an issue for that real quick. That'll be a really simple thing to do later on, but I'm just going to open up an issue, add highlight.js. All right, so out of that, I'm done with that. Now I can close out of all of these tabs that I had open that I was using to figure out what the cookie does. So this is kind of the red-green refactor approach. Like at first, I don't know what I'm doing. That's red, it doesn't work. Green is, okay, I got it working in code. And then the refactor part is, this is, I'm creating documentation. That's part of my refactoring process. Is can I repeat what I did in a way that I'll be able to use it again in the future and have the right references for the future. And I probably would want to clean up that article, but since I need to get this done today, I don't want to spend too much time on the documentation. It's good enough for what I need right now. Okay, and then we got that done. Cool. So we need to get to the next part, which is using JWTs. And I'm just checking to see if we got any more comments. Nope, not yet. So I create a lot of my own stuff, in case you can't tell. And I have a Go program that I wrote. I wrote this both in Go and in Node called Key Pairs. And Key Pairs is kind of like a JWT.io on steroids. So let's say, for example, I want to generate a key, a public key pair. I can do that. And this will actually, if I recall correctly, I'd have to go look at the cheat sheet for it. And I've got this up on webinstall.dev/keypairs. But I think if I tell it that I want to use a PIM file, I believe it'll output it in PIM format. Let's see if that's correct, if memory serves well. Indeed, it does. So you can say whether you want it to be in PIM format or you want it to be in JSON format. And then, well, there's no such thing as jwk.pim. It should be jwk.json. But anyway, let me go ahead and just rename that. key.pem. So PEM format is the old format from the 90s or maybe even as early as the 80s. And JSON is just a much nicer format. But PEM is essentially it is a binary JSON of sorts. It's more XML-ish because you have to have a schema to interpret it. It's definitely not something you could sit down and open it up in a text editor, but it accomplishes a similar goal as JSON. It's arbitrary key value pairs. They're just really weird and specified by binary types. So you'll find places where you need something to be PEM or you need it to be JSON. And I could have sworn that I had a convert function in here that would convert between the two. I certainly do in the JavaScript version. If you npm install -g key pairs CLI, which I'm not going to do right now, but that one absolutely. Let me npm key pairs. Let's see if it comes up with the right thing. And it might be key pairs CLI. Let's see, CLI. Yeah, key pairs CLI. Oh no, where did it go? It definitely does exist. Let me just search for it. That link is just broken. Yeah, the link's broken, but it's right there. So this will actually give you a convert function, so you can just give it something and it'll convert it. I could have sworn this did that too. I'm just gonna try it. Nope, I don't have the convert function in there yet. I'll have to add that to the Go version. Anyway, point being, if you want to quickly generate keys either in JSON or in PEM format, and if you want to be able to convert between them, use the NPM version. But the Go version is nice because it's self-contained and it works on all platforms without having to install Node. But we do need public-private key pairs, and we need to be able to sign things. So for example, let's say I want to sign this with an expiry of 15 minutes. And yeah, this right here, this is basically it. So if we want to create a JWT, that's it right there. So this is spitting out what it looks like when it's parsed. And this is spitting out what it looks like as a JWT. So this is technically a JWS. When you parse a JWT, JavaScript Web Token, it becomes a JWS, JavaScript Web Signature. And, oops. Yeah. So we're going to need that because we're in the space of generating key pairs. Now you could use the Auth0 JWT, but I don't like that one because it's bloated and that's basically it. I don't like stuff that's just like huge, giant, lots of dependencies. And I think they may have fixed that because I think they were getting flack for that. But whoops, let me put in here key pairs JS because there's key pairs, which is the one I wrote in Go, and key pairs JS is the one that I wrote in JavaScript. And it is @root key pairs on NPM. And so basically what we need to do here is we want to look for sign JWT. That's what I want. And I'm going to need to npm install key pairs then. Yeah, npm install key pairs. So this it lets us generate keys and sign tokens with keys. So let me go into app.js, and I'm going to copy some stuff out of the README there. We're going to go up to the top here. I'm trying to think, how do I want to do this? I think I want to put the key right into the .env. That seems to make sense. And we want to replace our stupid thing, our auth 3000 refresh token. Let's replace this with ID token. And then instead of my shared secret, we're going to sign a token for this user. So we're going to need a payload of some sort. But I'm just going to paste this in. I'll go over this line by line, what this is momentarily. And let's say we want this to be async, which means now we need to change wherever it works to be async. We've got it there. Okay. So we need to get our key pair so that we can do this signing. And what is this complaining about? Missing line break, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I wrote this before I was using Prettier, so now it's going to complain about the line breaks. Whatever, we'll get rid of them just as well. Okay, cool. And we need to, I'm going back up to the top here. Let's put this after cookie parser. Let key pairs equals, whoops, require key pairs. Npm install, save. Oh, we already did that. Cool. Oh, and then we got our watcher going, right? Oh no, I never started the watcher. Now the watcher's going. So now it'll restart Node. And a lot of people use NodeMon for this, but because I work in different technologies, I work in Go and I work in Rust and I work in Node, I tend to prefer the cross-platform tools that are the smallest and lightest weight over the language specific tools. So for in every language, everybody's got a watch exec of their own. All of these, whether it's Python or Ruby or whatever it is, everybody's got something that is equivalently NodeMon or watch exec or whatever. But I like to use the ones that are the smallest download size, that are the most self-contained, that are the most reliable. And watch exec is that. So it's written in Rust, and it is also on webinstall.dev. Now, where was I? We were looking at, we got key pairs in here. Okay, we're looking at, we want to sign one of these. And so we're going to say let JWT equal, and we need a key pair. And the key pair we're going to put into the, let's put it in example.env. So here I might actually want to start making example.env separate from the .env, because I'm going to start to want to document them differently. So I'm going to remove the .env, which is a link to example.env, and I'm going to start doing these different. Now, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put in my little ditty for generating random base 64, except I'm going to put this one because this one is easier to swallow. And this one's less scary. So generate a random secret. Let people know exactly how to do it. Don't make people go and look up, because then they'll do something stupid, like leave the dumb example in there. And then let me put a link to the blog article. I've got too many blogs going on. Oops. Where's the one about random? Generate a secure random string. There we go. And I have this actually in multiple languages. All right, let's do that. So that's good. And now, yeah, sure. Let's go ahead. Go ahead and document all of these. Dev env will print more logs and such. There we go. And then what was the other thing we're going to add? We're going to add our key pair. So what I could do is I could just, well, in this case, what I'm going to do is just leave that blank. Let's give people exactly what they need to know. What was it? Key pairs generate, I think it's just called gen. There we go. So I'm going to put that into my example.env. Again, just want people to have exactly the tools that they need to set things up correctly. Or maybe we could call this private key. That's what it needs to be. It needs to be called private key. Okay, so now I'm going to take this and I'm going to create my .env out of it. And I'm going to go back to 3042 because I prefer that. And then I'm actually going to put a random string, which for me, I just have an alias to RND. So when I type RND, it gives me a random string. So I'm actually going to show you that real quick, just in case somebody else wants to do it. I have it in my fish config, but it'll work in a ZSH or bash config exactly the same if I'm not mistaken. So it's that whole bit. And it's on the, this is how you use the alias. You just put this in your config, and when you reload your shell, you get basically these commands that are shortcuts. So anyway, I don't know if I put the alias part in the blog article, but how to generate a secure random string, but the command is there, and it's just, you read from dev urandom as a binary, and then you get back out XX hex or base 64 through XXD, you get hex, and then you can decode that to base 64 or whatever. Anyway, oh, super secret. There we go. That's what I'll use. Although a lot of times for development environments, people like to use something that they can just speak across the room, something that's more Englishy, but not necessary. Okay, and then for the key pairs, what do we want to do? Key.jwk.json. Let's actually, we're going to unprettify this so that we can fit it in here nicely. So I'm going to do like this. So I'm actually going to Shift J to bring it all on one line. Technically, as per spec, I should be able to do multi-line strings, but I don't know if .env implements that in Node, and a lot of the .envs don't. So there we go, but that's the private key. So now I've got that, that's good. And now I'm ready to go back into the app and get things set up here. Maybe I'll put the cookie stuff together and then put the JWT stuff together. Put the dev stuff together. Very important to put stuff. Great documentation. All right, so let me go back to the docs here. I have a copy paste example. I think it's called parse or generate. I think I just want parse actually. Okay, it'll parse it no matter what it is. Great. That's exactly what we want. So let key pair equal key pairs dot parse, and then we're going to do let private key equals process.env dot private key. So, and I actually just want to fail here. I want to fail hard if that does not work. Also, we've got a slight problem here because this is an async function. And I don't want to wrap everything. I don't know. What version of Node are we in? Do we have top level async support yet? Let's just try this. It's nonsense, but let's just see if it works. Await is only valid in an async function. Okay, we do not have top level await yet. So it's okay from the perspective that it only takes a very short amount of time for the web server to boot up, and it's not likely that it's going to get a request before this is finished. So it's whatever. But let's do this. Well, actually, technically, I guess I would prefer. Let me go back a step. I would prefer that if something were to go wrong, that it actually does generate the key pair. So I think it is better to warn and say private key could not be parsed. And then generating a temporary key. Sure, why not? Okay. That way, if something goes wrong, because you don't necessarily need the key pair to be the same every time. It's just that all of the JWTs that were signed with the old key pair will just be expired, and so it's not critical that we hard fail on this. All right, so now we have a key pair. Wait, that doesn't make any sense. What did I just do here? What? Okay, right. There we go, done then. All right, now we've got our key pair. Sweet. With a slight chance that it won't be ready by the time of the first request. That would affect something maybe like a test. Okay, issuer. Oh gosh, we need to set the domain of this thing somehow. I guess we could do... Let's just not worry about that right now. It expires in 1 hour. This is the refresher. No, the refresher we want to do in days. So let's say 72 hours, 3 days is how long we want it to last. And typically, I don't remember how I implemented it in this library, but typically it only goes up as much as an hour. Sometimes you'll find things that go up that allow you to do days or weeks, but you're not going to get beyond that because there's no such thing as a month. Like how many seconds is a month? How many seconds is a year? You know, you can't count those things. A week is countable. Okay. And then, so claims, we could call this claims, we call it payload. The difference is, so technically claims is when it's a JSON object, and payload is when it is the base 64 version of the object. So technically, yeah, I guess we should call it claims. You'll see people use them interchangeably, but claims is the object version, payload is the serialized version. It's just like we call things JSON when it's not actually JSON. It's not actually the serialized string. It's just an object that is a value object that consists only of primitive values like number and bool and stuff like that. Okay. So with that, we should be able to set the token here. And then do we want to set, this is set auth in refresher. So this one, yeah, I think we want this to last for a while. So again, let's do max age. Oh, and you know what? I think I messed up. I need to look at the documentation real quick on express.res.cookie and see whether they're translating from JavaScript time in milliseconds or they're using normal time in seconds. I bet that they're probably using normal time because I think that's what the spec is. What the heck? How did this not take me to the Express documentation? Oh, why is that not the first result? Okay, here we are. Max age. In milliseconds. Okay. So it is milliseconds for JavaScript. So let's do this. Basically, what did we say? We want 72 hours, so 72 times 60 times 60 times 1,000. And some people like doing it this way because there is a penalty. It is actually doing more multiplication. So if you're doing millions of these per second, it would be slower to do more multiplication. But I prefer the clarity, and if I need that type of performance, I'll know. All right, so this function here, set auth in refresher, is basically what we're using to reset the cookie again. And this is wrong, because that would be overridden by cookie defaults. So there we go. That needs to be that way. And let's call it like this. There. That's a little nicer, I think. Okay. So now we use this in a couple of places. First, let me see if there's another place where we use res.cookie. No, good. And I'm going to replace all of this stuff now, all of these comments. Let me go back up to the top where I have the cookie stuff. I'm going to put C, and then where'd my blog article go? Let me go back to that real quick. It was here. It was here. It was here. Ugh, terrible URL, but it'll get better when I publish the site for reals. Okay, so back down here, we've got our cookie parser, we've got our session. So let's say that we actually have some way to do username and password validation. I'm trying to think if I want to turn this whole thing into a middleware. For right now, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to leave it as something I can copy and paste. So in the project that I'm working on for work, I'm just going to copy and paste this stuff in and then change out the functions. We'll see how that goes, and then maybe I'll refactor this later. Okay, so, but we do need the body parser. Let me go ahead and add body parser in here. And I actually am going to want that to be in the template one as well. All right, body parser. And definitely want the body parser to be on the API at the very least. So let's go ahead and do app.use/API body parser. And there are some options, body parser.json. There are some options for this. I just don't remember what they are. I don't think any of them are that important. I think I typically raise the limit or lower the limit. I don't remember what the limit is, but it has a size limit by default, so you can't upload 100 megabytes of JSON. But I like that to be explicit because that's caught me before where I'm getting these unprocessable entity or bad requests or something. And, oh no, I don't want to import bookmarks. Express body parser JSON. And so I always like to explicitly set that value to the default. Yeah, it defaults to 100 kilobytes. The other ones I don't think are such a problem because they make more sense. But this one, I'm really of the opinion, I'm glad that they have a default. I am, but it should issue a warning or something and say, warning, you did not set limit set to 100 KB by default. Okay, so we're going to have the body parser on there. So now we just need to do some sort of check to see. I'm just going to create a function, and I'm putting these things kind of out of order right now. I'll clean it up later. It's just because this is the way my brain works. So we're going to do this function, and we're going to call it verify user, and we're going to put in the request object, and we're going to return true, and we're going to call this async and so this is just a callback that we need. If we wrap this whole thing, yeah, I don't know how I'd want to do that right now. I'm not going to think about it right now. But we're going to do await verify user. We're going to pass in rec. But I think we actually do want to get a user object back. I think really we want to get two things back because we'd like to get. Let's not call this verify user. Let's call this get user claims. And let's not pass back true. Let's pass back subject, which, and this, we'll just do rec.body.sub as kind of a dummy for right now. To do, validate username and password, which I hate that. There we go. There we go. It makes me feel better. Cast judgment. All right, verify user. So we're not going to do that. We're going to say get user claims. I'm going to say let claims equals. We're going to get rid of that to do. We don't need this. And then we're going to set the claims. That seems reasonable. And then when we're done, we need to give back a token. So now we're finally getting to the good part here after all this time where we get to call. Let me go back to my examples here. Where was that at? Was it right here? Yeah, dot sign. Key pairs dot, where's sign? Oh, we already had that in there. Where was that at? You know, so what we want to give back here, we actually kind of want to do two things. Because we want to put the ID token in the refresher, but we also want to create our essentially our short-lived access token. So this is our long-lived refresh ID token. We want to set our short-lived access token, and we want to set that probably here. So let's copy the same thing. And then this is short-lived, so let's say this is 2 hours. Actually, I'm gonna reverse this a little bit. We're gonna let our long-lived be longer because for the actual use case that I have, I don't remember how long we wanted it to be, but let's say 144 on both of these. So let's say it's 7 times 24. Yeah, there we go. We'll just do this. There. So now it's going to last for a week. That's good. And then we can have the short-lived token last for, let's make it 24 hours. And these values will make them flexible. And that is no longer the same as max age. Okay. Yeah, we'll have some other stuff in there later. All right, where's this set auth in refresher? Just looking for both instances of it. So when we create a session, we want to issue a token, and then when we refresh, the difference between, I guess what we really want is, we do want to verify user and we do want to get user claims. They might be separate functions, but essentially this bit we want to repeat in both places, because when we refresh a token, we want to give them back the token that they want. But that one is validating on, there's two different validation mechanisms here. That's, yeah, so let me go back up here. I'm going to create another function. We're going to call this verify user, just kind of stubbing this out. Verify user. And this can return true or false. All right, and then we want to go down. All right, so here we want to verify the user first. So we're just going to wait, verify user. Right, yes. And then here, we want to verify session. So, and this would be ID token, I believe, is what we're working at now. So we set that cookie, yeah. Okay, and I think with this, we're kind of closing up. I'm kind of stubbing out the functions that you'd need to replace for your own use case. Because I'm not going to cover how to do all the auth and everything, but at this point, I think I'm in a good place where once I do a little bit of testing on this, I'm going to write some documentation for it, and then I think I need to get to the point where I actually go start integrating this with the real service that I need to integrate it with. Because I don't think I'm going to be able to make it generic enough to use it as a module, but we'll see. But that's going to have to be off camera, because I'm going to have to go into the real proprietary code as I make those decisions. And then I might follow up and then show like, okay, so after looking at the code and seeing where I needed to make things mix in well, here's the decisions I made or something like that. But let's see. So get user claims, we wanted to do verify session, right? So await verify session. And there's going to be, these are going to be more complex because we're going to have to pull some data from the database and do some checks and blah, blah, blah. But I think I will be able to use these same functions. I'm just going to have to find a way to make it so that I can supplant them with the ones that are necessary that actually do the database calls already. Because this code is basically already there. I'm just going to be replacing it, which is kind of a shame because I just refactored a bunch of it, but I think this is the right way to move forward, is get it out into its own smaller piece. Anyway, so yeah, it's going to verify the session. If the session's verified, it's going to be able to get the claims. Then it's going to sign the claims. And I should just put in here that'll be fine for now. All right, and then we're going to refresh. I don't know, actually, maybe I don't want to do this. I shouldn't actually this is something I need to fix here. To do use existing expires if available. So I don't want to constantly extend the life of the refresh token every time I go to get a new access token. And maybe I was actually doing this wrong. Session refresh. So that really shouldn't refresh. Only the session should refresh. So what I need to verify the session that I'm doing here. I need to create the new token based on claims. So the user's going to make some claims, like they want a certain sub account. And in our get user claims, we're going to verify that the claims that they want to get from their request are the claims that they're allowed to get. Yeah, that'll be good. So I think, and then token here. So this one is going to be an access token because it's going to have different claims on it. So we'll call it access token as opposed to the ID token. And I think in the previous one, did we say that we get back a token? Yeah, but we did not actually set it. So this will be ID token. And then they won't need the ID token to get a new access token because the ID token will be in it'll be in here. Let me think about this for a second. Is this the way that we want it to work? No, it's not. No, this should also be an ID token. There will be another route to exchange, but that I'll be able to. So no, the thing I said earlier about the sub accounts and whatnot, that won't happen in this get user claims. That'll happen somewhere else. There'll be an exchange endpoint, and the exchange endpoint is where they'll be able to get an access token. So it's going to be similar to this, but the exchange is going to need to take place verifying the ID token. Let me make sure did I put async on this? This needs to be async because all these things are going to have database calls. Okay, so I'm going to have to await verify ID token. I'm going to get the claims. I'm going to sign the claims. I'm going to send them back the access token. Has sub account information. And then I'm going to move this over here. So I've got two error handlers now. I'm going to have one for API. I'm going to have one for everything else. And I'm going to say if not. There we go. So my error handler is if the error doesn't have a code, then it's some sort of unexpected error. And it should go to the next thing. And this is the default error handler. Oh, and I forgot to set up Morgan. Let me do that real quick, because I had included that. Where was that dev stuff right here? Let's see, what was that? Yeah, I think this is a good place to put it. Little log handler mabob. I just need to go up here, let Morgan require Morgan. Okay, so that was maybe a lot of writing code with just kind of testing little bits and snippets, and now I need to test that everything that did work still works, and I need to test some new things. In particular, I do want to verify user. Let's do rec.body.verify is verified. All right, so that it actually does check something. There we go. If not verified, then we'll have it throw an error. Oh, and now I need my create error function too. Oops. Error.code equals, that's what we want. Invalid credentials. And what should the user-friendly version of this be? All right. Invalid login credentials. Sure. Put that there. Save this bad boy. And, oh, what do we got here? Is this, okay, that's looking good. Specify a format. Let me go check that out real quick. Express, Morgan. There we go. I'll go ahead and where was Morgan at? Whoops, I didn't want to exit out of that. Okay. So I think everything's going to work. I've got something to verify a user, to verify a session. So if the user verifies, then they get a session. If the session verifies, then they can do a refresh. And then the testing on this kind of arcs up if we were doing real tests on this, which I kind of wish we were, but I'm not in a space to do that for this right now. But because we need to test that you cannot get a token in a refresh without a valid session. We need to test that you can get it with a valid session, so on and so forth. We need to test all of those different cases. Let's see. Let's see. We need to test that the exchange works with an ID token. Okay, so to verify the ID token, what we need... Oh, we still need to verify. That's the last thing we need to do. We absolutely need to have that in here. There's no sense in signing a token if we don't ever verify it anywhere. So this would be rec.headers.authorization, and then could be an empty string. Dot replace bearer with nothing. And then that would be our JWT. So it'd be an authorization bearer token, which we'll set that up in a second. And res, no, we don't need to do res here. We just need to verify. So I need to use key pairs. Let me go back to the key pairs library. Where's verify? Oh, come on. Put the verify in key fetch. Okay. So that thing I was complaining about earlier, asymmetric APIs, I did it myself here. Did the same thing as the cookie parser and the cookie module because they are separate things. So, I mean, but as I was developing this, I later developed key fetch, which is too bad. I mean, it's not too bad that I developed it later, but I would have done keypairs.jwt.sign probably rather than keypairs.signJWT. But do I have a way to give it the public key without going out and fetching it? Yes. Yes, I do. Except I don't actually want... Oh, no, that's the same thing. Verify options. What are the options? I did a bad job on this one. Oh, no, the API is down here. Great. Verify JWT. Good. Single key rather than a list. That's what I want right there. Okay. I do need to put that up towards the top. So let's do key fetch. Let me go up here. Where was key pairs? And the reason I did these differently is typically you're doing things differently. I didn't want to include all of the stuff for key fetch and key pairs because key fetch does the OIDC stuff where it goes and fetches the key from the remote server. And so it's actually not as obvious. Okay, I do need to make sure that I have that as a JWK. So let me go back to key pairs real quick. Oops. And make sure that I'm pretty sure, yeah, JWK. It is JWK. So it should be keypair.public. Should be what I need for that. And I need to document that better. I don't need to check any of the claims. I just need to verify the JWT. And I need to await this. And what am I going to get back? I think I'm going to get back the claims. Let's say I'm going to get back the JWS. I need to console.log that. Okay. So that was the thing that was missing from all of this. And with that, now I'm ready to test it. Okay, let me close out of here, review what we got. So we want to test, can we get a hello? That should pass no problem. We want to test, can we create a session? And now I think we need something more in session, like is, what was it, is verified? Yeah, is verified. So it's not what we were going to leave it as, but rather than pretending to check a password and doing it in a stupid way that I wouldn't want anybody to copy, I'll do something even dumber. All right, so we can post to refresh and we should get back a token. And we're going to need JQ for this. Let me make sure I've got JQ on here. I'm pretty sure I do. Let's see. I think this will work. right? Yep. But I need, I think it's -R for raw. Yeah, there we go. Okay, cool. So that's how I will get the token from the response. I will use JQ. So I'm going to just put up a note here. Requires JQ. That's JSON query. Super awesome thing to use. Okay, so yeah, from this, I'm going to say my token equals that looks right. Okay, and now I don't know that it's that we want. Oh, that one's not the one to do this with. It's this one, because that one should give an error. So it's this one. There we go. And this one here should give us the token. And so the next thing we do is going to be to go to the exchange. And the exchange is not going to use cookies. It is going to use authorization bearer. Authorization bearer. And then my token. And then I should get back from that expecting ID token. Let's do this. Again, these aren't real great valid tests, but they do help me for just kind of winging it for a little bit. But pretty much at this point, I'm reaching the point of diminishing returns. I should not add anything more to this bash file as I go forward, because I should be converting this to automated tests in JavaScript at this point, because it's nice for doing 2 or 3 things, but I'm getting a little bit deep here. All right, let me go back into the code and make sure that in that final bit, let me go down to the bottom and work my way back up. Yeah, we are getting an access token. Cool. What am I doing? I'm going to the test. Is that where I was at? Yeah. All right, I'm expecting an error there. I'm expecting cookie and a token, and I'm expecting hello. Okay, good, good. Expecting new ID token. That failed. So let's go check the test. Well, what said expecting cookies and ID token? This one. Okay, so that did not come back right. So we got a couple of things that went wrong here. We have an internal server error. We should not have an internal server error. We have an object coming back where we should be getting an error, and we have an object coming back where we should be getting a token. So let's address this in reverse order. First of all, we shouldn't have an internal server error. We should have an error that we understand what to do with here. So let's go back down to the bottom where we're doing the access token. Let's see if we get, yeah, we got some nice output here. All right. I wonder where that came. I know kind of where that came from, but I'm not sure why. But let's work backwards here. Verify ID token. I think that's why we got the internal server error. So that might be a bug in key fetch, because that await should be causing that error to bubble up properly, because we do have an error handler right here. But it doesn't have a code. It doesn't have a code on it. No, it's not bubbling up. Because do we even have the unexpected error here? No, we do not. Okay, so that might be a bug that I need to go check into. Possible unhandled rejection bug. Okay. So we need to put an issuer where we're doing a sign JWT. Okay, I'm going to leave that in there. We'll have to fix that and swap out the example later. This library is a much more secure than most of the other libraries because it actually validates things and it throws errors if you don't give it anything to validate, and you have to explicitly silence that, which maybe that's actually what I want to do in this case. Let me go back in there because I'm pretty sure, for the sake of just this little demo here, yeah, I think that I can set this to false, and then it will cause it to not be checked. Okay, so don't check the issuer. Is there any other thing? Oh, this right here. Should that have an await? I think that should have an await, maybe. Let me check. Sign JWT. Nope, not that one. Sign JWT. Return. Yeah, so that should have an await. All of those should have an await. Sign JWT. Await. Await. And they need the issuer set to false. Okay. Cool. Yeah, because this is going to complain as well if it doesn't get an issuer. Yep. Okay, cool. Ooh. Well, that fixed everything. And then I can use key pairs. What is it? Inspect. And I can inspect this right here. And there we go. Okay, cool. So it looks like everything is working to a point where now it's time for me to take another break. Let's see, what time is it? 5:40. Yeah, I need to take a break. Dinner's going to happen soon. And then I got to look at the stuff that's the proprietary stuff and see what the right way to fit this in now that I have it working in isolation. Pretty much as expected. But last thing I need to do is get the documentation updated a little bit, and then do a commit. Oh, and I can remove that thing about the bug. Possible unhandled rejection bug. It wasn't from there. Okay. So, well, actually, let me double check in app.js. Is there anything that just really doesn't belong in here that's just maybe some console.log garbage that's just garbage? I don't know if I really need the hello anymore. I definitely need to put this somewhere else, but for right now, I don't know what else to do with it, so I think I'll just leave it for now. Well, I think I'm going to move these up, actually, because they're all basically middleware that pertain specifically to these auth routes. So I think I'm just going to, well, no, what I'm going to do, hold on, sorry. I like to have all the routes down at the bottom so that I can just see them in a glance, and I like anything that is too long to be turned into a function so that I can basically look at the routes and know what's going on. Okay, I can get rid of that comment. Let's move this function up. Got some error handlers. We've got all that. Good. So basically I think this is all the stuff that has to get replaced, are these functions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's probably, and this actually should probably be in a function as well. And so now I essentially have a framework for doing that exchange based on cookies. All right, let's see. Give that a nice name. And then eventually, what I will want to do is I will want to take all these functions out. So that I can just see a straight line of here's what's being used and where and why. Let's do, but I think I should make a separate section for this. Error handlers. And then, whoops, handlers. And this is all my API stuff. Probably don't really need this hello here. I'll just leave it for now. And this is functions I need to refactor or let the user handle. And then Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Let me make sure that I didn't break anything. All right, that all looks really good. Cool. So I'm going to call my tests a success for now. Let me go ahead and open up my package.json, and it is what it is. I'm gonna let's see. JQ key pairs. I have to build out a little bit more of this, but I'm going to say that this is working if I'm going to use JQ again here. If we can do an inspect on this, then I'm going to call it a success. I like to prefix all my local bash variables with my. Okay. Cool. So if it gets to the end and it exits with success, then it passed. Otherwise, it failed. So let's do echo pass, and then let's make sure that we can make it fail. So I'm just going to put something where it'll get nothing. Ooh, interesting. I have to go fix that. Cool, it did not pass. Excellent. Although I do need to file a bug now in key pairs. Let's see, Golang key pairs. Let's actually see what is the output to be sure. Oops, and this should have been like that, but I don't think that mattered. Key pairs inspect foo. Null. Interesting. Very interesting. I know why this is though, because it's parsing it as JSON, in which case it gets nil, in which case it is successful in parsing JSON. So it won't throw an error. That's very interesting. Very interesting. Okay. So tests look good. Let's go ahead and change the test back to where it passes. Double check that indeed it does pass. And it does. Let's make sure the example env and the that looks good. Actually, I'm going to do this too. Excellent. Looking excellent. Okay. Was there anything in here that was superfluous garbage? Oh, also, this is a little tip that I learned about. I think it's like this. Is it? I think you just pass lib. Say don't package anything. Oh. Maybe. Whatever. This isn't getting published, but if you can make sure that you don't get all your test files and lots of other garbage in your npm stuff. Okay, in our git ignore, we want to ignore keys. So star.jwk, star.pem, I don't know if I want to exclude J because I might want those in the future. Okay, and let's make sure that our package is clean. Are these dependencies that we actually use and need? Yes, they are. So I'm okay to include them. Well, what do we call this? Sets and gets, cookies, issues, refresh token, exchange, passes, tests. There we go. Good. And then if I was going to rebase this, I don't think there are very many commits here. Add tooling files. I would say we're just going to squash this into the previous one. And so I'm going to get rid of that. There we go. And I'm going to check out master. Is that what it is on this one? Yep. And then I'm going to do a git push. Well, first I'm going to rebase. Let's see, what am I at here? Oh, initial commit, yeah. So I'll just rebase from whip, which is going to give me what, 1, 2, 3? Yeah, okay. Git push. And then I think we should just be able to do a git push on master. And I think that that will work. All right. Well, our work is done. It's time to go take a break. I think I will just check real quick that this auth 3000. Oh, I needed to update the README. Okay, I'm going to update the README. And then, although I already pushed the master, I'm going to rebase it again and as a fix-up and force push it. Okay, so we got our refresh. And now we have our exchange. And it is not auth, it is auth in. Okay, is that correct? Yeah, that's what it will be. That's not what it is. All right, so yeah, we're going to give it the ability to have a body to that tells it something. Okay, ID token, access token is what it should get back for a refresh. Maybe, sure. It's doing something like that right now. No? For refresh? Yeah, we do want the refresh to be able to give back an access token, actually. And the exchange would only give back access tokens. And the exchange, would be authorization token. And it's going to get back not a set cookie, but it will get back an access token. I think that's about right. I'll just call this update docs. And then I'll push. Okay. Now let's make sure that it's here. And I should have done something so I can get syntax highlighting on that. Anyway. All right, this is ready for me to start doing some integration on. I feel pretty decent about it. I'll figure out how to turn it into a true library as I'm doing the integration. So if this was useful for you, if you had a good time struggling along with me, go ahead and give this a thumbs up. If you would like to subscribe to the live channel, go ahead and do so. That is what this is. This will not go on the edited channel, I don't think. But in any case, the links are down in the doobly-doo for both the Beyond Code channel, which is where I upload the edited stuff, and the live, just my personal live channel, which is where I put all sorts of nonsense garbage from. Oh, can you see me pointing at this? Let me move this out of the way here so you can see where, there we go. See, that's my GameCube back there. Oh yeah, it even went into focus for you. Okay, come back to my face now. And soldering and doing weird stuff with the GameCube and all that. Anyway, you have an excellent day. I hope that this was valuable for you. And if not, don't come back. Adios.